and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Build, Paint, Play. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jake, and we have a special guest with us today.
Other side, there we go, it's that side, yep.
That's I'm Owen Beste. I'm happy to be here. Glad to join you all.
Excellent. Thanks, thanks very much for joining us, Owen. It's going to be a cool conversation this evening ahead of the launch of ticket sales for Nova Open 2023. So Nova Open is on the Labor Day weekend. What are the dates this year for that?
Yeah, it's August 31st to September 3rd this year.
Cool. So that's the Thursday through Sunday.
Yes, and if you want to come early for one of our pre-convention seminars, that's going to be starting on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
On that Tuesday. Yeah, so we're I believe, assuming everything goes through travel, going to have a gentleman coming over from Poland. You may have heard of Krzysztof Kowalczyk. He is a painter over in Poland, does some really amazing work, and he's going to be joining us as one of our international guests for our teaching this year.
Fantastic.
So
excellent. Well, we'll jump in and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. No doubt, Owen and I will have plenty to chat about with the Capital Palette coming up. So super excited about that. In the chat already we have Ryan. Hi Ryan. He says, "Wee!" Awesome. I've got a fun story in my hobby chat and Build Paint Play challenge. I probably should I'll save it for the Build Paint Play challenge later on, about a game I had with Ryan over the weekend. We've got Sean here. Hola, Sean. And
see, a Malifaux chat. Look at that.
Yeah. Very cool. And Josh is here. Is this the best you got? I only asked someone do their best. Good, better, best. Had to get it out of my system. Glad you got it all done in the first few minutes there, Josh. Josh is our resident punster.
Amazing.
So, very definitely cool to have you here. So Yeah, we'll jump into just quickly run through what hobby stuff we got done. Jake, we know.
I didn't get a ton done this week. My wife and I adopted a rescue puppy.
Okay,
Or she's not a puppy. I get they think she's 2 or 3. Oh,
right.
that's her.
Oh,
In the back
So
there.
she's coming over here. Hey Bailey, come here. Hi, sweet girl.
oh, what a good girl.
Say hi. Whoa. Whoa. So this is Bailey. You can say hi. Good girl. She's very sweet.
Lovely.
Um,
So you're going to say you're
Yeah.
spending most of your time doing that?
yeah. So we got her on Friday, and we have a pug who Dave knows. We've had her on the show before, Rhino. And Rhino's older, and we weren't sure how they were going to get along together. So we had her for like this weekend as like a tryout kind of thing, and they were great. But like our entire weekend was my wife and I like keeping an eye on them and making sure they would get along okay. So I didn't get a ton done. I did put all of my Null oil washes on the tanks that I sent Dave stuff this week. That was the stuff that I built and primed last week. Man, those are thirsty models. I used a half a bottle of Null oil on them.
On 3 models.
Yeah, and like literally two Leviathans and a Sakaran, and half a bottle of oil was just gone. And I was like, okay, was not expecting to use that much, but that's what I got done. And then I ordered the last 3 tanks, and those will be in probably the end of the week, and then I'll get that stuff done.
Right. Yeah, Owen, Jake is taking a 10 model list.
And
10 models, Horus Heresy, taking it to Adepticon to play against one of our other viewers, Chris Kemig.
And Brian Martin also wants a game as well, so it's
okay.
a couple of our viewers.
Nice.
But it's an just so you don't think it's crazy. It's an armored spearhead for Horus Heresy. So
right,
it's
yeah, it makes sense.
7 tanks, 3 dreadnoughts. It should be fun.
It should be crazy, is what it is.
Was it intentionally the minimum number of models you could get?
So that wasn't how it started. Originally, we were kicking around the idea, and I built the whole Horus Heresy starter box. So
Right.
it's whatever 20 or 40
40 Marines.
40 Mark 6 Marines, and then 10 Terminators and the 2 Praetors and all that stuff. And then I was like, I don't really want to do that list, and I decided I wanted to do Iron Warriors, so I'm doing Loyalist Iron Warriors. And the more I looked at it, I was like, I really feel like I should just do tanks. Like I've always wanted to do a tank army. I've never really had the opportunity to do it. And with the Armored Spearhead, I was like, oh, I can just run a Command Sakaran and I'll try to do this. And I mixed in some Dreadnoughts because I love Dreadnoughts. And I was like, oh, well, we'll see how it works. And Chris and I originally decided on 2K for points. And then I've been working a little bit more. And he's like, well, I could do like 2,500. And I was like, if I fudge stuff and do a lot of like vehicle upgrades, I think I can do 2,500. But I might just add, if I have the time, I might add 1 more Predator. And then just kind of do all the upgrades and stuff, but it should be interesting. Chris's army, the guy I'm going against, is 16 units instead of 10 units. It's basically all tanks. He has 2 less tanks and only 1 dreadnought, and he's running a Spartan that has like a 20-man tack squad in it. So he's got a lot more models to paint, but only like 5 or 6 more units. So.
Right.
What you're telling me is you actually like skirmish games.
I mean, sure. Like,
that's what I'm hearing.
Adeptus Titanicus is great. Even my fully fledged 2,500 Blood Angels 40K list is like 38 models.
Yeah.
Also good, like well, maybe not tanks, but transport friendly, right? Few numbers of things,
It's almost
simple.
no transports. I have.
Oh no, he means about carrying it
physically packing it, right? Like, although
bringing
tanks
is
might
great.
be big, but
Bringing is great. Bringing this army to Adepticon is going to suck. I've never had to bring like a full size army case with me before, so I was like, I'm really nervous about putting it under the plane. But I think a 720 is too big to fit in the overhead bin.
Yikes. Yeah, no, I've never put miniatures in the bottom. That's
I am pretty nervous. I'm gonna wait and see what I can do. Some guy was telling me that a 720, like a Battlefoam 720 case, will fit in the overhead.
Get on the on your airline's website. Check out their sizes for carry-on.
But the problem is, it's the carry-on, the overhead bin is a specific size.
I know. They put that the largest size that they have for carry-on will fit in the overhead.
That's true.
I'll check. I'll have to figure. I don't even know at this point because it's so far out. Like it's this Wednesday will be a month out. I don't know if they've even assigned my plane.
Sure.
And all the planes have different size. You know what I mean? So
okay, yeah. That's the advantage
like
of flying Southwest, I
could
guess.
look, and then the day of they could be like, oh, we put you on this airline carrier instead. And then it's like, oh, okay, well,
yeah.
It's like I'm not leaving my army here, so can you put this with the pilot? Just put it behind the co-pilot seat.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Sean in the chat. Sean said, "I saw a 40k list at the tournament this weekend with 2 Astraeus, which are the Forge World Primaris super heavies."
That was it? Just that?
They're like this big. I would guess it was 2 of those plus maybe 5. Well, 2 units of 5 intercessors. And Scott says, "Hey, when you use the same thumbnail as a previous episode, it confuses some Canadians and they miss the start of the show." That's fair, Scott. That's all on me. My camera wasn't working as well as it should have been, and it took up the extra 5 minutes that I usually use to create that thumbnail before the show. So, I think in future we might need to work on a different approach to that, but we'll come around to that. We'll work it out. But welcome anyway. I'm glad you made it for not quite the start of the show.
What does the Asterisk even look like? I don't remember what that one looks like. What does the Asterisk look like?
Oh, it's just a huge, like, floating super heavy.
Does it look like the Custodes tank?
No, it's kind of as if a Bane blade and several land speeders had a love child that then grew up to be larger than any of them.
It is also apparently the name of a Greek titan.
Oh, okay.
The Titan of the Wind.
There you go.
This is the first thing that came up. I was like, oh, what does this look like? But no, yeah, it looks like. What even? It just honestly, it looks like a lot of different tanks were kind of like chopped up and then like stuck together in a giant tank ball.
It's like a whole bunch of tanks fell into the warp, and that's what popped out the other side.
That thing is ugly.
Wow. What a wild vehicle. That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Ryan says, or you could just continue to confuse the Canadians, see how many times you can make them apologize for your jerk move. Could be that. We could take it that way, Ryan. That would be good. My hobby, I painted up 10 las cannon dudes for my Iron Hands.
Nice.
The Iron Hands part of my Alpha Legion army.
Very cool.
And 5 Mordathan.
Very nice.
Those are the actual Mordathans, yeah?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I like the cloak. The cloak is nice.
Those are rad.
So these are for the Raven Guard part of my Alpha Legion army. Brian says it looks like Cole made a superheated Tau Primaris vehicle. It does indeed. And I painted something else. What did I do? Oh, I finished off my what do you call it? High Carl conversion for my Leagues of Votan army.
Nice.
You'll see it later in the Build Paint Play. I got my Hernkin Pioneers finished and played a game against Ryan, who's in the chat, against his Nurgle Demons. Quite an interesting matchup between those two. But again, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I feel like both of those armies are going to be slow-ish.
No. The Nurgle Demons, like most of them, can pop down like after the first turn.
Teleport.
Basically drop in
like deep strike
in certain areas, and
okay.
Yeah, my infantry, I just wanted them to camp out on objectives. So I had my Hecaton Land Fortress to move up my Chthonian Berserks, and I had my unit of 6 Hernkin Pioneers who were super zippy, but also meant that they ended up right next to some Beasts of Nurgle that dropped into their deployment zone and proceeded to wreck face. But one of the things that I also found is that not many folks at the moment have Martian iron crust, which is the basing material that I'm using for my Leagues of Votan. So when you see the photo later, some of the basing isn't finished. So I ended up trying out AK's Fireland texture paste.
Okay.
So
What do you think?
I like it. Yeah, it's very, very similar. It's slightly darker. Textures slightly larger. Like it's a little bit grittier. But considering nowhere that I went to had any of the Martian iron.
I feel like it's so weird. I feel like the basing stuff is so, I don't want to say regional, but like depending on where you are in the country. So like I have Martian iron earth in stock.
Oh, no. Do you have iron crust or do you have iron earth?
I have both of them.
Okay.
The one that I'm out of is Sterling Battle Meyer.
Okay.
Like we haven't had that one for weeks, and we
So like mud one.
Yeah.
so Sterling Mud is the thicker one.
Okay.
Sterling Mud is like the muddy texture look, and then Battle Meyer is the chunky one. It's the chunky peanut butter versus the smooth peanut butter.
Yeah. Okay.
And like we got it restocked. We got like 6 of them. They're all immediately gone. And I was like, what the hell? Like I don't know why, but like
one guy is painting 200 miniatures with that base. So it's just like, give me it.
He's like, I'm gonna need all of these.
Yep.
It's like, okay, yeah, it's weird. Like there's always that store that's out of like that one color. So
yeah, I went over on Saturday. I went to Games and Stuff. They didn't have it. Then I went over and visited with Dan Athanasaur and Mike Dutcher, who were over at the Kill Team Open event, which was near my place, about 20 minutes away. And there was a vendor there who also did not have the iron crust, but he did have this.
None.
And I was like, this is really close. I'm going to get this so I can finish it off anyway. But yeah, that Kill Team event was pretty cool. There was over 100 people playing Kill Team in there. There was competitive, like there was a tournament. There was a narrative set up. They had a painting competition. They were running painting classes as well. And when I got there, Will Hahn, who's spectacular painter, I think he won Best of Show at Capital Palette last year. Pretty sure.
Yeah, he did.
He was running a non-metallic metals for sort of tabletop gaming class, which was awesome to see. But yeah, just really, really fun to know that there's events like that out there. Just folks in the community organizing them, running them. And I think Steve, I've forgotten Steve's last name.
Duel?
Pardon?
Steve Duel?
Possibly. Who's running, probably going to be running Kill Team at Nova.
Oh, Ben Cash. And who else? And Matt Hole, and there's a couple of people.
Right.
Many people, all the Kill Team people locally were all there.
Right.
So,
Yep.
I know, yeah, so.
But it was cool. Yeah, there were people who flew in for it. There was a guy who was sort of streaming the top table who flew in from California.
Cool.
So, yeah, very, very cool thing to see. But that was, so that was my hobby. Checking out games, playing games. I played a game of Warcry last Wednesday as well. So
when you come up here, Ben loves Warcry. It is like one of his favorite games, and he's like, I wish there was more people that played Warcry.
Yep, Warcry is definitely cool. I love the setup. But yeah, that's me. Owen, how about you?
So my painting of the last week was painting our guest room. So macro scale painting.
one to one terrain.
Yes, one full scale terrain.
Awesome.
So did a bunch of that. I did some vicarious enjoyment of hobby stuff with these bad boys that just arrived.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
The whole set, those on the stream, if you haven't ordered these, I don't know if you still can, but I particularly liked the Tome. Is it Sewell? Is
Sewell,
that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yeah.
To rhyme with
this
Jewel.
one. This one in particular I liked because he goes super in depth on like brushstrokes, methods, like approaches to doing things. I mean, I don't know why I'm showing you this, but you made this. But like, I really appreciated that it was almost like a seminar class in a book form.
Yep.
So that one I was like, oh, this is top notch content. Even stuff like, I painted for a long time. Like a lot of this makes sense, but seeing it sort of like called out and named is just like really interesting with the photographs to really illustrate the examples and points that he's doing. So top notch job. I'm looking forward to the next set.
Yeah.
So
Cool. No, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying those. Yeah. With Tommy's book in particular, he goes a long way to trying to break down different jargon that we regularly hear or use ourselves in miniature painting. So the greatest example, well, maybe not the greatest example, but a great example that he used with me was feathering. He said, "What's feathering?" And I said, "Well, I do feathering like this. Lots of little strokes pulling down." And he goes, "Okay, well that's interesting because Darren Latham does feathering like this. The strokes sort of off to the side, and Angel Araldas does feathering like that. Which one of them is feathering? Are they all feathering? What? How?" So if you tell somebody to feather the paint, which one do they do? So instead of using jargon words like that, he breaks it all down into very clear, simple, repeatable, understandable sort of terms, which is really cool. But yeah, Tommy was super excited to work on that and put his fundamentals of painting course. It reads like a seminar course because it really is. It's a seminar course.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely cool. But
I think I'm geared.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think I'm gearing up to work on. Well, once I finish setting up Nova stuff, which we'll talk about more, but I'm doing all the like data entry. But my next project is going to be for Malifaux. Malifaux, it's a skirmish game. It's like a Weird West mashup of genres type game. There is a list that is sort of this like 4 of the different factions have a sort of rider of the apocalypse model. It's like war and famine and wrath and such. And there's a list you can do where you play all of them together from across them. And they had a sort of side mini game a couple years ago called Puppet Wars, where they basically created like almost chibi puppet versions of a lot of their sort of Malifaux main characters.
Yep.
So they did a set that was the puppet apocalypse that's like riding like hobby horses, like little sort of
That's amazing.
toy horses. So I'm gonna partner with another guy in the Malifaux community to see if he can help me 3D design the leader in the puppet style, so I can like have a fully like puppetized theme crew. So should be an interesting little project to try to do something different.
Oh, for sure. That'll be fun. I think I painted some of those the Puppets War pieces a few years ago. But I think because of the size of them as well, they were fun to play around with texture, like woven textures and that sort of thing on there. So nice.
Yeah, they're cute little dudes. Let's see if that goes into focus at all.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Let's see.
There we go. Almost. Nope.
Almost. Nope. All right. No worries.
Death is determined not to be caught.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, that's cool. Nice. Okay, so that's our hobby roundup. What else do we have in the chat? Brian says that he needs someone to play Titanics with him this week to complete week 3 of the challenge.
I like that game.
Yeah. Jake will play a game with you, Brian.
Brian's in Chicago. Oh, sorry, Brian's in Indiana. He's nowhere near me.
We could do it. What else we got? Scott says, Yeah, Scott says, I'll get my book soon, then people will respect me. I'll learn how to spell that far out. Send me high name. Who's that? Saini? Saini DA? Possibly. Anyway, Ryan says, Malifaux, the best game where dead hookers are a playable faction.
It is true.
Yep. Scott says, hey, I'm doing old school Malifaux and some new plastics now. These plastics are the dumbest things to assemble I've ever bought.
Yeah, the Malifaux models.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah, many of them are beautiful. They have extremely tiny connection points on some models, or like you'll have one where it's like two pieces. It'll be like the whole model and like his head. And then the other model that's like the face is 4 pieces, and you're just like, what? Why?
I don't understand what their engineer is doing. That their engineer's like, I feel like he's just messing with people. I feel like he's like, how can I make this way more difficult than it needs to be? It's like, we could just print the head, or hear me out. What if I make the head into 5 pieces?
Yeah. So much better. Isn't there a zombie chihuahua within and it has a separate ear?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I guess the advantage there is if you lose that ear, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a zombie.
Yeah, even Ryan said the same thing. He said that a lot of the newer plastic kits are insanely stupid to build.
It's true.
And then Owen said that they're renowned for having tiny connection points. Like, it's almost like they're trying to one up Infinity.
Right.
Like, Infinity is already fiddly, and they're metal, which is a nightmare. But at least you can pin them if you wanted to.
Yeah.
These being all plastic, I was telling Dave, I did my last 2 commissions are both warbands for Malifaux. And one of them literally broke at the ankles because it was such a tiny connection point. Like, I was basing it, and it broke off, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I mean, it's like fibers of plastic resin that I have to glue together. Like, there's not enough piece to glue together. I was like, this sucks.
Just quickly, Brian, Sean has volunteered to play you in a game, but he's in PA, so you make a quick drive down to PA, you'll be able to get a game in. And Scott says, engineer? Jake, there is no engineer. The models are chopped up using a magic 8-ball and a monkey with a keyboard on bath salts. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Should we jump in and get into the meat of the conversation this evening?
Yeah, let's do it.
Woohoo! So we're going to be talking to Owen here about Nova Open, but as it's the first time on the show, I thought I'd say your hobby bona fides.
Yeah.
What qualifies you to talk about the Nova Open?
Well, to talk about the Nova Open, I'm qualified because I'm the president of the Nova Open.
Okay.
You got the top man on the show.
Excellent.
In terms of hobbies, so I got into, as many people in the hobby do, got into 40K in 2nd edition when I was in middle school. So I remember they had the little cardboard cutout orc dreadnought and the standing space marines. It was the one pose. So got into that, and then as a middle schooler in the suburbs with no car, realized that I didn't really have anyone to play with. So I bought a bunch of stuff, painted a bunch of stuff, put it in my basement, and it just hung out until after college, when some of my college buddies and I all realized we had done exactly the same thing. And we were like, oh, wait, you did that too? Let's this game probably still is around. Let's pull this out. It was, I think by then, 5th edition.
Okay.
So, so then we busted the stuff out, started playing some games. One buddy played Tau, one did Orcs, an Imperial Guard, these great times. And then we were local here in the DC area, and heard, I don't actually know how, but heard about the Nova Open as an event that was happening, which I guess it was in 2010, I want to say, which would have been its first year at the Hyatt. And we were like, hey, let's go to this. Check it out. We've never done a tournament, never done an event never played outside of like effectively the basement, right, with buddies, and it was an awesome experience. It was super great. We got totally creamed in the tournament, but had a blast doing it. And that sort of snowballed things. Like they put out a call for volunteers. They're like, hey, can you come do terrain? So did some terrain days, and helped with moving the next year, then got roped into doing the narrative for 40K for like 3 years. Joined the board. Like, anyway, been doing it now for like more than 10 years. But that was really like the big intro to hobbies and doing tabletop miniatures.
Right. So having that huge blast of how many people were at the 2010 show? Was that a couple of hundred?
It was probably not a lot. Like, I remember it felt really full, but like it was probably only like 600 people. Like I don't think it was that huge.
600 is still a lot.
It's a decent number, yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, certainly smaller than our current, than the current size show. So, but like, yeah, that sort of got me going. And then eventually, when 40K it reached that point where like it got a little unbalanced. GW kind of like before they kind of rebooted and kind of like came back, a lot of us switched over. Mike Brandt was like, hey, do you want to try this Malifaux game? And so we got like real deep into that.
Yep.
And I haven't looked back. I've been playing that now since second edition. I've done playtesting work for that. I've been like tons of stuff in that and like the organizing of events there. But I've mostly ended up being an event organizer, occasional player. That's my hobby connection.
Yep. Just quickly as well. So with the Malifaux, you would also do something else with Malifaux, don't you?
Yeah. So I also run the North American Faux Tour, which is like the U.S. rankings. We have an invitational event at Nova. We did our first inaugural season this past year. So people from all over the country and Canada submit events and tournaments. We tabulate all the results together and get our top players for each of the different conferences and invite them and wildcard folks out to compete as sort of the top players in the country in an invitational tournament. So it's been really fun because people that organize events tend to be people that are just great people. Like they want to be doing cool things for people. They're excited about creating spaces for people to play. And so I get to work with all of those people from all over the country and like see them at different shows. Like, oh, I was just up at Captain Con 2 weeks ago supporting another TO at his event, and like he comes and supports us. And it's such a great like collaborative community to be in. And it's true of all tabletop games, really. I mean, you guys know, right? That's why we all do this, because it's the community of other people who love playing and creativity and doing things together and like challenging ourselves. It's fun to like compete and play a game, but like it's really about the community. At least I find.
Yeah, being able to I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Being able to create an environment or a situation where people can come along and meet other people, participate in community, is definitely a super cool thing.
Scott wanted to know if you know his Malifaux guy, Kieran Dunleavy.
Kieran Dunleavy.
He'd be Canadian.
Scott's in Canada, but Kieran is their organizer.
I don't think so, but if he's in Canada, I would love to be connected and bring him in to our TO council. Cool. So
we'll hook you up with Scott after the show.
Perfect. Yeah,
for sure. Excellent. Cool. So let's jump into talking about Nova. Shall we do that?
Sure. So yeah, the Nova Open. It is a tabletop gaming convention in DC. This year, actually in DC for the first time. as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's Labor Day weekend, August 31st to September 3rd, and it is a big multi-event type of convention. So we have a big 40K event, big AOS event, Infinity, Malifaux, Blood Bowl. I think we're bringing Bolt Action and Arena Rex this year. So we're plus a whole slate of something like, I don't know, 50 or 60 seminars from artists from all over the US and internationally who come and like teach classes for all skill levels. So it's kind of a festival of gaming community, and one of our key angles is that we are all about at the end of the day supporting good causes and charities. It was founded originally as a fundraiser barbecue for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And this year, we're partnering with the Nova Open Charitable Foundation, which we have for years. So partnering with them, we're partnering with an organization called So What Else, which is a local DC area charity that helps those who are less fortunate with everything from food and food insecurity stuff to jobs to housing to just like helping people make ends meet. So it like gives back in the local community.
Right.
And then with the Table War Charities organization, which helps families of children with autism get services more effectively for those kids. So they're based out of Hawaii.
So that's Todd, isn't it?
That's Todd. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Great guy. Great organization. So we're always looking for opportunities to, like, we helped the Loudon Food Kitchen or Food Bank rather back in the fall around Thanksgiving. So we're always looking for like ways to give back and to raise awareness of those kinds of causes. So that's always been like a core DNA thing of the Nova Open.
Yep. I think with the Nova Open Charitable Foundation and the other causes that Nova has helped over the years, that it's going to be coming close to like $500,000 donated.
Yeah.
Through all those activities over the years.
That's awesome.
So yeah, absolutely incredibly cool. I think this year you need to keep an eye out for it. I think the Nova Open Charitable Foundation are running raffles in the spring. So there's one that's coming up fairly soon. I think we'll have Sean Fulton from the Charitable Foundation on to talk about those. And then there'll be one later in the year with... so I don't know if anybody's been watching Squidmar and his current video project, which is creating a diorama with two fighting warlord titans. Yeah, definitely.
Titanic scale?
No, full scale. So over the last sort of 6 or 8 months, they've been. He did a whole like trading thing where he wanted to trade from a goblin up to a warlord titan. So went through and organized a whole bunch of trades. And in the end, ended up with 2 warlord titans that they're going to put into a big diorama, like fix them in place.
That's a pretty good trade.
That is a good trade.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well, it wasn't just like, hey, I've got a goblin, can I have those too?
Yeah, like the person who traded up from like a pencil to a house through like 100 trades.
That's that kind of thing. Yeah, there's a whole video series on it. You can go and check that out. But yeah, they're doing this, and then they'll be crating it up and shipping it to the winner. But they'll be raffling that off for as part of the Nova Open. I think the fall raffles.
We have at the store we have a Nova Open charity raffle win on display. We have a Archeon on Dorgar that was painted by Duncan Rhodes that was auctioned off.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Very cool.
I remember that one.
When we opened one of our like, first customers is a buddy of one of the owners, and he reached out to us and was like, hey, I've had this for a couple of months. I won it at Nova. Like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I never in a million years thought I would win. You guys want to put this up in the store? So we gave him a box of like whatever he was looking for, and we have it up. It's super cool. And I got to talk to Duncan a couple years ago. I don't remember if it was at Nova or if it was at Adepticon, but like we were chatting about it, and he was like, "Oh, that's awesome." He's like, "It's always really cool to find out like where my stuff ends up."
Yep.
He's like, "I've painted two." He's like, "One is at Warhammer World, and the other one like somewhere." He's like, "And I knew we donated one to Nova, but I have no idea where it went." And I was like, "Yeah, it's at our store in Boston." So,
Yep.
but yeah, it's super cool to see that stuff.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, cool. And Dave, you've been involved with Nova for a long time too, in various capacities.
Yeah, I think.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think 2012 was the first year that I came down. Was it? And I say came down, it's like as if it was a long way for me to go. It was
a long journey of like 40 minutes.
The thing is, well, it's 40 minutes to get to the top of the Beltway.
Yeah.
And then the DC Beltway, or driving through DC, for me, is like one of the most frightening driving experiences that I could ever have. Because there are a lot of roads twisting and turning, and a lot of exits that switch sides very quickly, and a lot of people all the time.
Yeah.
On the DC Beltway, I have been in a traffic jam at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. Yeah, it's
cracks. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, 2012 I think was the first time I came down just to have a look around, check it all out. 2013, a friend of mine, Joe Johnson, was painting up something for, maybe it was 2012. I can't remember exactly. One of these years, he was painting up something for a Dark Angels army that was going to be raffled off. And he broke his arm, and so wasn't able to finish the paint job. So he boxed them up and sent them to me, and I finished up painting them. And from there, I've been involved in painting something in some way, shape, or form for the Nova Open Charitable Foundation since then. Each year.
The Warlord you did that time with it was the Warlord that's like stepping on the Chimera.
Yep.
And you were going to put the battery thing in the Chimera, but I think you just sunk it.
Yep.
Was that? Did you paint that for Nova?
No, I painted that for me. It's sitting over there.
Okay.
Sure, just pointing out how selfish I am. No, that was for me.
I'm gonna hold on to this one.
It's still over there. But no, I think the biggest thing I've donated was like 2.5, 3 companies of Ultramarines in a big Ultramarines army. But yeah, so I started then as I was working on projects for the Nova Open Charitable Foundation, I'd come down and I'd help out with the Charitable Foundation booth. I think so. At the time, I'd enter the painting competition, the Capital Palette, and I think when I first entered was the first time I entered an open format painting competition, where there are no set numbers of gold, silvers, or bronze things, and it just my tiny little brain couldn't understand how it worked. I was just confused. It was like I'd put my entries in, and I would go went around through the cabinet and was like, okay, cool. Well, I think I'm better than that one, but I'm not. How many are better than me in this category? Which is what you'd usually do at a podium format competition. And at the end, it was just like I don't get it. So it took me a little while to adjust my thinking for entering that competition, and pretty soon after, I'd say 2015, 2016 maybe, it was when I started helping with the helping judging for the Capital Palette competition, and worked with Justin McCoy, Roman Lapat, and a few other folks. So who else do we have along the way? James Wappel, and a bunch of other judges as well, to the point where probably 2018, I think 2017 and 2018, I was kind of head judge, in that I would coordinate the team of judges, make sure that we were all in the right place at the right time, and we could go through and do all of our judging. And I think it's probably 2017, 2018, when myself, Roman, and I think it was James, the three of us, were up until 4 a.m. judging the capital ballot.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember you telling me that. I think that was the second. I think that was the second or third Nova Open I went to when you were telling me
Yeah.
that. You were like, we were up super late last night. And I was like, doing what? And you were like, doing the judging. And I was like, what? And you were like, we had to like, we were arguing over how to do stuff and like which ones got what. And like, there were so many pieces to get through. I was like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. So I think 2018 or 2019, we split to multiple teams. So we had, because we had 3 divisions, so apprentice, journeyman, master divisions, we split up into teams, so that we could have teams working on each division at the same time. And last year, we had 3 teams, 2 people per team, and I was kind of the swing judge. So if anybody had any issues or wasn't sure where to put something, as far as gold, silver, or bronze, or finalist, or whatever, I would jump in there. But we were able to finish by 10:30 p.m. and still make it over to the bar. So
Yeah, I was shocked. So like you may or may not remember, but like in 2019 and 2018, because I did a lot of the IT stuff.
Yeah.
I would be the one like producing the anonymized lists of all the things for people to like write on and score and then data enter at the end. Like I was up like feeding information and like things to you all, and it was like this insane late night activity. And so this year when you were like, oh, we're done, like you had a beer, I was like, what do you mean you're done? How are you done? It's like 10. What's happening?
Yep.
So well done.
Yep. Yeah, it was a cool thing. We were excited to be able to get that going. But I think when was it? Late last year or early this year? Beginning of this year. We had a conversation, myself, Dan Athanasaur, who's the he's the front of house guy. So he's the one who organizes the team that take the models in, that get them photographed, that puts them in the cabinets, hands them back afterwards. So doing all the hard work, really, rather than just we get to spend hours like looking at cool toy soldiers. But yeah, myself, Dan, and Owen talked about things that we can do for the capital palette in the future and how we can grow that, and can sort of continue to build the what's the word I'm looking for? I think build the community around the capital palette as we go. So
Scott has a couple of questions. So the first one is yes, I have a website. So I'll make sure that Dave and I will put it in the links underneath. But yeah, if you need stuff, I'm happy to ship it wherever. The second one is Dave. He would assume that Aussies all knew how to fang it through any level of traffic, going through different competing warlords' territory, all for a tank of gasoline. DC should be a cakewalk for you. And then thirdly, he has an honest question: why have entry skill categories at LVO, for example? Everything is scored 1 through 10. Why not have like anything 7 above be bronze, anything that's gold and silver and whatever? Why have the painters qualify themselves? Part of why he asks is he was encouraged to enter Master next year, but he scored a bronze in the Jabroni class. My score would have been a 4-ish out of 10 on the other 2 entries that he was scored on. Like, can you guys speak to that? Like, do you guys place them or like, do they place them?
Basically, the participants place themselves. From the general feeling is most people will be entering in the journeyman category.
Right.
The bulk of people who have been painting for a few years, who are keen to flex their painting skills, see how their painting skills stack up against other people. Even though in open format you're more competing against yourself year after year,
Right.
But they're also interested in getting feedback and learning more about painting. The apprentice is people who are just getting started on that journey. So you might have been painting for 20 years, but if you didn't give a damn how the paint looked until now,
Yeah.
now is the time for you to enter the apprentice and start to sort of work your way through. What we always do, we always see is that each through those categories, the people who are winning silvers and golds, we encourage them to enter in the next division up the following year. So if you're an apprentice and you're winning a gold in apprentice category, we encourage you to enter the journeyman next year. There will be times as well when Dan and his team will take in miniatures for the apprentice category that are obviously not apprentice miniatures. They're not people who have just started their being interested in their painting journey. So there might have been some confusion, or somebody might go, I want to get a gold medal. I don't care what I get it for. But Dan will talk to me about that, and we'll talk with some of the judges and say, okay, do we need to move this model up into the next division?
Okay.
So we will do that sometimes. We'll move models into other divisions.
Now, do you guys do, is any of it age category? Like I remember GW used to do Youngbloods.
Yeah. No.
So, like it was just like if you were under, was it the Youngbloods was what? You had
16.
to be under 14? 16?
16.
All right.
Yep. No, nothing like that.
All right.
It's we just want people to we'd like to see people go through that journey, progress along those steps. Our judge, our sort of lead judge for the apprentice category is Vince Venturella. Vince has judged for us a couple of years now. He's coming back this year. We're really excited that he's going to be able to do that, because one of the things Vince loves talking about painting toy soldiers, and he loves helping people understand where they're at and what their next steps can be.
Okay.
So Vince is awesome for that.
And we do have for like young, we don't call it Young Bloods, we call it Kids Hammer, but we have some programs that are specifically for younger players, more geared towards like getting into the hobby in the first place. But like we have like a special seminar that's just for young people that want to like, hey, here's how you assemble miniature, here's how you paint, like here's some of the basics, like learn how to play AOS, like learn how to play a game, like things that folks can do. Especially we get a lot of like parent and kid, or like, you know, uncle and kid type of groups where it's like, yeah, this is a thing that now we can do together as a family at home, and I like, they've seen me do this for years, they can come and like kind of do that together. Which is slightly different than like a Young Bloods like painting competition. That's sort of like, yeah, come back next year after you've spent a year like now honing these skills and try out the apprentice category.
Right on. Yes, Sean said his first entry was his converted avatar last year, and then Scott said the reason he brought it up is he said he got a bronze, and he's not being a jerk. I kind of thought from his feedback he might have thought I got gold. It was Will Hahn. Yep. He was very complimentary. He said my painting was good. It just needed some story. He was really quite nice. I still don't feel from the answer, Dave, that you're doing a 1 through 10 score. You couldn't have it bracketed. Maybe one dude gets a bronze in Masters and a gold on Journeyman with 2 separate pieces. I would assume that if you're looking at by the name, like I'm assuming that I couldn't have a piece in Journeyman and a piece in Master.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You would be in one in all of the entries. Yeah. So like when you come up, you bring like one form with all of your minutes. Like here's however many it is that I'm entering, and like here I am, and they're like, great, which category are you in?
It's per entrant, not per unit.
Correct. Yeah.
What we've had in the past, and I don't know that we've qualified it for this year yet, mainly because we could be running into space issues in the cabinets, is also having multiple entries in a particular category. So sometimes we have people who are entering 2 models in single, or 2 units in the unit category in their division, because they like both of them and they can't decide which one's better.
Yeah.
So we always judge that on the best entry for that category, on that person's best entry for that category. At the moment, the tags that we have the badge number on them. I think we're looking at working something a little bit different this year, but there have been times when we've been sitting there going, I don't know which one's going to win best of category. Is it going to be this unit or this unit? Oh, they're painted by the same person. Great. That makes it easy. It doesn't matter which one we pick.
Yeah. The Dave Soper approach, when he was like, I entered the open category, I entered single miniature, I entered squad, and I entered vehicle. And you're like, cool. He's like, and I got gold in 3 of those 4 categories. You're like, well, good news. This will be easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, I was going to say, Scott, we don't apply a 1 to 10 kind of thing. We don't approach it that way. It's a little... I don't know that I could wrap my head around that. It's a little bit different. We approach it differently. We
talked about this before. We talked about like judging and stuff when Dave and I reviewed all the Golden Demon winners, and we talked about a lot of stuff. And we basically came to the conclusion that for most people, it's for me, it's a gut feeling. Like if I look at something and I'm like, that's phenomenal. I have no idea how they did that. Yep. Right away, that immediately like climbs up in my rankings. Or if I see something that I'm like, I know how they did that. The sheer amount of work involved to get that look immediately gets a certain amount of my respect. But again, like with anything, it's all personal perspective. Like unless you have some sort of like conclave of like 7 judges that there is no head judge, they all have to agree. I feel like that's the only way you're ever going to get like a true, this is the best mini.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, it's like, well, what one did we all like the most? Okay, cool. Then that one wins. So
yeah, and that's sometimes how you can end up staying up until 4 a.m. judging a painting competition.
How to debate it? Yeah. Well, and I mean, I know from just snippets of over here, like a lot of it can get pretty detailed. Of like, oh, well, look at the technique of how they did shadows of this part, like especially in the masterclass level where it's like we're expecting really high quality in terms of like not just execution but composition. Of like, does this work? Do the color choices evoke the right emotions? Does the positioning of the diorama fit? Does the plinth reinforce it, enhance it, or like detract from the appearance? Like it's the whole like thing.
Yep.
Here I'm talking like I'm this great painter. I'm not. No.
But you're right. It is all of those things, and it's always looking at what have they tried. How, like, did they go beyond their comfort zone? Did they push outside of their comfort zone?
Yeah.
Did they sit in their comfort zone and get everything exactly right?
Yeah.
Where did they? Right. Where does it fall? There's a lot of different aspects. But
Dave and I spent, I don't know, 20 minutes, a half hour talking about that water effect on that giant. Like, to this day, that mini is just like jaw dropping. Yeah. It is phenomenal.
It's definitely.
But again, I get a lot of that is like, is that technically painting? Like the paint job is great, but the water effect and the like dimensional base that he made is phenomenal. But that's all technique. Like he didn't paint that. It's just like he knew how to layer that up so you wouldn't lose any of the definition on the paint job. Like again, from a skill perspective, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I could totally see some other judge being like, well, yeah, but that's not painting.
Yeah.
Like this is a painting competition. Like, did he...
Fortunately, on that one, the painting was exceptional as well. It wasn't just the resin.
I get that. I understand people being able to do this.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe like what are some things you're hoping to see this year in this year's event?
Sure. Yeah. Let's. Thank you for moving us right along. Jake and I can go back and forth a little bit, but just quickly, Josh says, have any judges' opinions led to heated words between judges having differing opinions?
Yeah, in 2016, Dave punched out a guy. Dave punched out another judge.
Yeah.
I must have been drunk. I don't remember that. It
It
may have
was
happened.
all the local news.
Yeah, it was a whole fiasco.
Yeah. No. Oh, is that when is that how the guy fell into that case?
Yeah.
I remember now. Okay. Yeah. No, Josh, not really. Thankfully, we haven't had any inter-judge combat. No dueling, no pistols at dawn, anything like that. Generally, it's if somebody else needs to step in and hear both sides of the argument and present their opinion, is generally how things will move forward. But it's all good. We want to make sure everybody does a good job is the key thing there.
I feel like that would still be a pretty rad story if you're like, what happened? It's like, well, I didn't win, but my model was the subject of one of the judges being dismissed due to a fist fight. And you're like, that's still pretty good.
That could be fun. That could be fun. Okay, I'm just going to quickly transition the image over because we've got some photos that Owen sent through of the new venue. Yay!
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
One other, as
sorry.
you're pulling that up, one other thing for Capital Palette, just I wanted to flag this for this year that we want to see is we'd love to. We know there's a lot of people out there who paint not just for like tabletop war games, but also for RPGs. Like especially with the explosion of things like Critical Role and Dimension 20 and other like people who bring a really nice production value to their role-playing tables. There's people who do amazing work in painting there that we'd love to see. Similarly, with some board games these days having miniatures of a quality that rivals that of many tabletop games, there are those out there who go the extra step and paint those. So like we'd love to see representation of, because those are still miniatures and still painted miniature art. We'd love to see that as like a venue of expression for people, maybe from other parts of the wider gaming community who we haven't seen before or have only seen in small numbers. So that's something we're really excited to try to promote. Maybe have some like side awards for or something. So we're still working the details, but
yeah, we have a bunch of guys who have sent in stuff for like Marvel United.
Mm-hmm.
The chibi Marvel game from Simon. The minis are great. Like our buddy Jeff painted
so
like
fun.
Doom, and then I think Scott has the entire starter box done.
Yep.
And those models they look like they're super fun to paint. I mean, they're all about this big. They're all maybe like a little bit bigger than a Terminator, but they're all like super chunky and like super deformed. They look great. So
yeah, cool. Okay, just going to switch over now and show this wonderful photo from Warhammer community team
nice.
Of Owen with the bolter.
Yes,
going hand with the bolter, which is super cool.
Classic.
So sorry, I just really wanted to have that in there. So, yeah, as I said, so previously we've been at the, I can't remember the name of the hotel now.
The Crystal City Hyatt Regency.
Crystal City Hyatt Regency, which, as Jake has said, remarked on a number of times, the cool vertical arrangement, I guess, or the cool vertical central hub that that the convention has revolved around. For anybody who hasn't been to the show, it's a little bit like Necromunda.
Like you can be on any of the layers and kind of like look down into like the main floor and then all the way down to like the vendor hall.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been spread over 4 or 5 different floors. Let's say 4.
Yeah. It was 4 floors in the past, and this past year in 2022, we expanded across the street to another hotel.
Right.
Which worked in that we had some more space, but was challenging because it like doubled everything. It
Right.
doubled all the It doubled the contracts. It doubled the staff. It doubled the movers. It doubled like everything was doubled. So this year we are not doing two venues again.
Yep.
We're back down to one, but one that is as big as the two hotels combined. So we're going to the historic Washington Hilton, probably most famous outside of DC as the place where Reagan was shot. Happened there as he was leaving an event. It's also where like the White House Correspondents' Dinner and like tons of like events happen there. So they're
I know this hotel. I know.
yeah, they're very much a like events place. So we will actually be taking place on 4 floors again, but the majority of everything, about like 80%, is going to be on 2, with the rest on like a little bit on some other levels.
Yep.
So the photo he's got up now, the big, I'm assuming this is like the main hall.
Yep.
Is this going to be tournament play, or is this going to be the vendor hall?
So how,
I've got the
just logistics question. How do I see what you were showing? Is it
we keep the YouTube channel up in the background.
okay? I've got that. I currently see on the YouTube channel me.
okay.
Maybe I'm behind. I'm probably lagged.
We might be
there we go.
Okay, great.
Nope, I'm good. All right, I caught up. Yes. So this is one of the 2 main ballrooms. This will be the 40K hall.
Okay.
40K narrative kill team. It's actually bigger than this picture shows. In this picture, that back wall, that's actually an air wall, so it keeps going past that. So, and to the left is a stage where we'll do the Games Workshop reveal. GW's booth will be in this hall with all the 40K stuff. So all 40K all the time in this giant ballroom. There's another giant ballroom on the other floor, which has which will have AOS and X-Wing and War Machine and Lord of the Rings and a lot of that stuff. And then a bunch of other slightly smaller rooms that have all the rest of the stuff. And in between kind of the concourse area of all of these things is where this year we're locating our board game library, the food and beverage stations, our demo areas for demo vendors, and there's like a ton of free play tables for socializing, gaming, hanging out, playing board games all night, like really being like a concourse where everyone can just come hang out or take in a spectacle, like people playing Adeptus Titanicus with 28mm scale Titans on a like 40 by 20 game board.
Yep.
Which will be one of 2 nights of giant Titan robot fights happening there to spectate, which should be really cool.
Awesome.
One of the other photos that I grabbed from those that you sent through is a shot of one of the outdoor sort of communal areas.
Yes.
With the chairs and the umbrellas and so on.
So you can't quite make it out on the photo, but like along the wall there's some like nice fountains going on. And the back, like sort of the back edge of the building where all those glass windows are, that's going to be the seminars and Hobby Haven zone. So this year we're able to bring our Hobby Haven hangout painting zone co-located with all the painting seminars all along this nice, like, so the Haven will be along the windows. So you've got windows like the whole length of the hotel there. And then next to them are all the different seminar rooms with folks. So it'll be really easy for people to kind of come and go and mingle and hang out and see their favorite instructor between classes. Here's the inside of that. So out those windows is that nice courtyard. All of these on the left are the various seminar rooms. And then all along here will be Hobby Haven stuff, where this year we're adding some programming around some paint and take and some learn to paint intro kind of stuff. We're working with a new recently formed 501c3 charity called Mental Health Painters. They raise money for veterans, like veterans counseling services and things like that. So they've agreed to come up and bring some models and do some of those classes as a way to kind of raise awareness for the charities that their organization supports. So it's going to be great. They're going to have like kind of all these things co-located in a nexus of art stuff.
Is that Prince?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Prince.
Excellent. Yeah, I met Prince at the Kill Team event on the weekend. So yeah, definitely cool.
Yep.
Awesome. That's going to be great. Just quickly, Scott says, holy crap, who wants people playing on a 40 by 20 foot table? How many minis get stepped on every year? This is a nightmare scenario. No, thank you, Owen. Yeah, I
just envisioning people pushing models around with the sticks like it's a World War II like planning map or something.
Yeah.
No, it's on the floor. It's floor hammer.
Yep. I think I played in one like that at Adepticon where everybody had to take your shoes off, so it was just stocking feet only. But nobody stepped on any minis. Nobody stepped on any Titans or any of the terrain. Everything went smoothly right up until just right after the end of the game. One of the guys, everybody was picking up their Titans and getting ready to carry their babies back to their room. And one of the guys picked up his Titan and took a step back and tripped and fell, and his Titan shattered.
No.
It was terrible. Everybody else was absolutely fine, but basically the whole room just went quiet. And everybody sort of rushed over. It was like, okay, let's grab the... And everybody collected up all the bits, and he was able to reassemble it.
It was totally quiet, except for the sobbing of one hobbyist. It was really stupid. Chris says hi. He said he's thinking about trying to go to Nova this year.
Cool. Excellent.
And then Ryan wanted to know, what's the name of the organization for the Vets Mental Health? He might know someone who wants to get in on that.
I just dropped it in the chat. So mhcpainters.org is the organization, so you can reach them there.
Cool. Excellent. Okay.
I'm excited for you guys. I mean, it's awesome news to hear that you guys are needing a new venue because you've gotten too big for the current venue, right? I mean, like that's awesome. Like that's what we all want, is to see like the good shows continue to grow, and need to make space for more people and kind of get all that stuff lined up. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely very cool. So just to remind people before we jump into looking at the Build Paint Play Challenge Week 3, Week 2.5, Week 3, is all the ticket sales. Tickets go on sale March 1st.
Yes, March 1st. Badges will go on sale at 8 p.m. and then event tickets at 8:30. We're staggering it this year slightly, just so that folks have a chance to get their badge, take a breather. If there's any hiccups, that they won't also be stuck in doing their event ticket stuff. So, but get your badge, then hang out and look at the schedule, figure out what you want to get, and then get your tickets. So I'll drop a link to the current work in progress store. I'm still in the process of loading events, so don't be alarmed. There's no 40K GT in there. There will be a 40K GT.
Vince, what's going on?
So work in progress. But yeah, those. The hope is to have, or my plan is to have all the events loaded over this week, basically. So keep checking back. We'll send a newsletter push once we are hey, it's all up. Go check it out. But if you want a preview, you can go over to Tabletop Events.
Excellent.
And see.
Very cool. Yeah, it's always good to be able to get in there and do a little bit of planning ahead of time.
Yeah.
Know what you're doing, and fingers crossed that everything will run smoothly on March 1st, and looking forward to it. So March 1st is Wednesday of next week.
Wednesday of next week, yes.
Wednesday of next week. Everybody be ready. Cool. Okay. Let's just quickly jump into the Build Paint Play Challenge. We've got quite a few minis to show everybody, so we'll run through these fairly quickly. But just quickly on, let you know, and let everybody else who might not have been sort of participating in it. But Scott in the chat, Scott Radham, came up with the idea of the Build Paint Play challenge. It's such a simple idea. Jake and I are both morons for not having noticed it earlier. But the idea is week 1, you show a picture of a model you have built. Week 2,
Okay.
you show a picture of that model painted. And then week 3, wait for it, you show a picture of that model being played with. Build, paint, play. Genius. Absolute genius. Genius. So this is the first time we're doing it. At some stage over the next week, Jake and I will get together and we'll judge people. I think we'll probably give people until the end of Sunday to post their photos in the Facebook group. Link in the description below. And we'll judge people and determine who is going to be the winner of the first Build, Paint, Play challenge. So as long as there's a photo somewhere of a model being built, model being painted, and a model being played with, hopefully all the same model from the same person, we will we'll include that in our decision making. But yeah.
Let's see. So what do we got? What did they send us?
So first up is we have Ben Williams. Ben painted up the Black Sun Enforcers last week, and he managed to get a game in on Saturday. So definitely
I like
cool.
his Purple Mandalorians. Those are dope.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. I like it.
They are neat. So I think one of the this sort of shows as well, basically the way that Ben was talking about it was, if we hadn't had this challenge, he probably wouldn't have played a game on Saturday. I think it's probably the
You've
same.
succeeded.
The same for
You
me.
are-
I wouldn't have played my game on Saturday had we not had the challenge. But yeah, definitely cool. Nice work again, Ben. Here is a week 2 entry, the painting entry. This is Bing Lee. You might, I'm not sure when Bing moved back to California, but Bing used to run the GW Springfield store back in the day.
Oh, nice.
And I think Bing has been to Nova a couple of times, but yeah, painting up these trolls for the Nord faction of Conquest, Last Argument of Kings.
Nice.
They look great.
They do look great. Gotta love that frosty blue skin.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Is he holding a rat? Is that?
I'm sorry.
Looks
Let's go back and have a look.
looks like.
Yeah.
Yep, it does look like a rat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tasty.
Those are Illustrious Knights.
Awesome. Next up, we
Max
have
Control.
Brian Martin, who has painted these 2 Adeptus Titanicus Knights, which are looking super cool. You just got to see if somebody around you is going to throw down with you, Brian, for a game of Adeptus Titanicus.
I think he had some of that Martian Earth.
Yeah, it looks like.
It does look like that. So the tough part as well is that, so that the Martian Iron Earth is the one that cracks,
Yeah.
right? It gives that little crackle, and the iron crust is the textured paste, like the sandy kind of thing. But I would have thought that the crust would be the one that cracks, and the Earth would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that my one of my biggest complaints, or I shouldn't say biggest, one of my only complaints with GW Paint Line is that some of the names don't really tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Like, which is unfortunate because it used to be great. It was like, ooh, bleached bone, and you're like, oh, I bet that's like a pale bone color. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's like, well, there's Agrelin Earth and Agrelin Badlands, and you're like, what's the difference?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
like, I know one of them is a crackle paint, but I always forget which one's which.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be so good if they had some other way of doing it. But anyway, beautiful work there, Brian. Looking good, and hopefully you will be able to get in a game before Sunday. Looking good. Chris Jones has been painting some more of his Dark Angels. And this was actually the first time that he's messed around with stubble. So
Yeah, it came out great on his head.
yeah, on
Stubble's
the chaplain's head there.
Nice.
Does look fantastic. So I mixed a kind of a lightish neutral gray in with the skin highlight. I got that great result there.
He also said it was the first time he had mixed metallics with
with
non-metallic to create like an undercoat glaze.
Yep.
So like the edges of his shoulder pads and stuff have some metallic mixed in with the black.
Okay.
Yeah. I like mixing in like a dark gray into my silvers to give that so it gives it an extra level of contrast. You've got that matte finish and then up to the shiny silver finish. But yeah, looking great there, Chris. Nice work. Here are my Honkin Pioneers. Hooray! So that's them all finished. In the game against Ryan on Saturday, you can see there are a couple of bases there that weren't finished. So that previous photo was after I'd finished it up. And then here, the last of the stuff I had in that pot managed to go like 1.5 bases.
Brian C says in the chat these were Beast of Nurgle chew toys.
They were, yep. So initially, so I zoomed them up the board.
That unit has like 1 million shots though.
Oh yeah, it does. But I zoomed them up the board. I shot down a couple of one of the rot flies or whatever these are called. They charged in. I managed to plink off a bunch of wounds on the way in, and then got lucky and killed them in combat. And then moved over this area here. I keep doing this with my cursor. You can't see what it is. So I moved over towards the open area on the other side of that building near the tape measure.
Yep.
And I was like about 3 inches away from his deployment zone. And when you drop the Nurgle demons in, you can drop them into your deployment zone regardless of how close they are to your enemy. So it was very easy for those beasts of Nurgle to drop in and start to tear my guys up. It was they killed a bunch of them, and then we probably spent about 5-10 minutes looking to see if bikers could disengage, like fall back and still shoot. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anywhere about bikers being able to do that. So I just went, okay, I'm just going to withdraw, like disengage and fall back over to the side of the board here. When I got home,
I feel like that used to be a thing, right?
When I got home, I found there's a stratagem for Votan bikers to be able to do that.
Oh, let's do that.
And at the same after I posted that into the chat with Ryan, he came back with a stratagem for the Nurgle demons, which is on a 4+. Anybody that's trying to fall back from Beasts of Nurgle can't fall back from Beasts of Nurgle. So,
all right.
And I really hope that when 10th edition comes out this summer that, they sort of remove a couple layers of complexity. Like I was talking to somebody today about this, and he was asking about 40K versus Heresy, and I was like, well, I think Heresy is just a tighter rule system. I think that it's pretty narrowed down. It's kind of like the best parts of 6th, a little bit of 7th, and a little bit of 8th, and it's pretty straightforward. And there's no stratagems, but there's like things you can do if you're a Space Marine, and then there's things you can do if you're a Loyalist or a Heretic, and then there's things you can do if you are not a Space Marine, so like Mechanicus Guard, whatever. But it's a lot more. It's a lot. I don't want to say simple, but there's just less stuff to worry about.
Yep.
And talking to a couple of my friends who organize tournaments like all over the U.S. and all over North America, a couple guys in Europe, apparently like the community, basically since the end of 8th edition, has been asking for them to stop adding layers of complexity and instead just fix a simple problem with a simple rule change.
Yep.
And a perfect example of that is in 8th edition, 8th came out and 7th was so over the top. You needed to read, we figured it out one time. if you wanted to get into 7th edition, like let's say you don't play, you have to read between 250 and 330 pages of rules. That's just the rules for the game.
Yep.
Like the main rule book, the first 180 pages is like the rules. And then there's
That's
like
insane.
a 55-page annex that's special rules. And then there's like another 36-page section that's like unit-specific rules.
Yep.
Then there's your codex, which has between 12 and 18 pages of rules. And then there's like your specific stuff.
Yep.
And then back then, if you were playing Mechanicus, there was also that like other, that second Mechanicus codex.
There was a lot you had to read. There was a lot you had to read. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on.
It's just crazy.
I know.
But like, but you proved the point, Dave. The fact that you guys couldn't find the rule.
Well, it's because it's not there. So
Right.
Yeah.
But there is a way to do it. You had to find it later, like going through your army's.
Yeah, but that's because we're both like filthy casuals. So anyway, moving right along. Next up, we've got Drew Carrington, 1-inch Heroes. Drew painted up some more models for his Crimson Fist army. It's a unit of, or models that he added to his unit of Stern Guard, Primaris Stern Guard.
Those guys look rad.
They do look awesome. And here's them popping out of their drop pod. And I could tell immediately by this mat and the edge of the table here that Drew is playing at Titan Games and Hobbies, which is my second local gaming store. So, but yeah, here's a nice close-up of them on the table.
Dude, they look great. The sergeant with that giant power fist.
Yeah. Yep.
That's rad. And the chaplain looks great too.
Yep. No, absolutely fantastic work there, Drew.
Actually, I remember. So, Drew probably doesn't remember this, but like I played him at Battle for Salvation, like 8 years ago or something,
Right.
and had like this really awesome, like aliens themed, Tyranid army. Like everything was xenomorphs, and it was like one of the most fun games of 40K I ever played. It was like Space Marines gunning down just like waves of aliens coming at them. It was super cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
So nice work. These look beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, Drew does excellent stuff there. Very cool. Next up, we've got some jabroni painting up 2 Leviathans and a Sicarian. A Sicarian tank. So these are Jake's Iron Warrior.
That's 1/3 of my list.
1/3 of the list there. And half a pot of Null Oil.
Oh, dude, I couldn't believe it. When I was done, I even left the pot in the photo. I'm like, how? I opened it to start these today.
Yep.
I was like, how did I use a half a pot of no oil?
Well, it looks like you've spilt half the pot here.
No, that mat is dry. That's a playmat we let anybody who's painting in the store
okay.
use.
Right here.
But yeah, like those models are just thirsty. Like I had to just blob it on in certain spots because of the primer.
Yep.
And it just like kept evaporating. I was like, come on. But
Nice.
they were fun.
Next up, we've got Jason Dyer's Hydras that he painted up. So he painted these up to match the color scheme from his Armored Company from 2005. So 18 years ago. And did quite a good job. So you can see the old Lehman Russ in the back and the 2 Hydras at the front. So he's very happy to have participated in weeks 1 and 2. He believes the play portion will have to wait until Adepticon. So
I wish GW made the Armageddon pattern tool compartment
right
on the Basilisk.
Oh, that'd be
Because
cool.
like I know so many people that don't put like guardsmen in the back.
Yeah.
Because like there should be a guy in there like loading and then another guy. I know some people that just don't put them in there. I'm like, yeah, but like I mean in the Armageddon pattern it's great because it's enclosed. You're like, oh yeah, they're in there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
I know. They look definitely look good. Nice work, Jason.
they're super cool.
Moving on, we've got Jeff Smith. He did post up his Hulk, but he posted it into the group a little bit too late for me to grab it and stick it into the photos. But he had his Moon Knight from...
Yeah, he looks great. I'm glad he painted him white. When is he going to finish painting him? He looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just primed it, really, hasn't he? Yeah.
It's just white.
But no, I think he's done a beautiful job on this one. And it really works well with that background.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of stormy evening kind of feel. Looking very nice. And Jeff also finished off his second Sagittar.
Oh, did he post the picture of he did Johnny Storm?
Oh yes, he did post that picture as well. I didn't grab that. He posted a lot this week.
These look
super cool.
These look good.
Yeah, those are great.
Yep, they do look really nice.
Great pop on the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the flat black for all the tubing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just definitely something very cool. It's kind of gives it that powder coated feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking nice, and I love the addition of the hazard stripes on this second one. Those hazard sort of chevrons.
I really like the blue highlights on the black weaponry too. That makes them really look cool.
Yep. Scott just said, "I found out Jeff Smith's a real guy." He did a stream I caught on the weekend. Yep, Jeff does the now I'm blanking on the name of it. But he does the stream on Saturday mornings. Goes through with sort of talks about the week in hobby.
It's not the Old Wolf, is it?
Fun?
I know the Old Wolf is his name. Yep. Is it that for the?
No, it's
the channel.
It's something with Mike and Jeff.
Scott, what's the name of
it? Scott will let us know.
He just watched it. Hopefully he knows.
You might remember it. Next up, we've got another Iron Warrior. So this is Josh. Josh is taking his Rhino a little bit further, a little bit more weathering, a little bit more depth in there with some washes along the bottom there.
Nice.
Looking very cool. Super brutal. Lovely work. And again, has the stripes. Gotta love them.
Yep. Yeah.
There we go. What's new with Mike and Jeff?
Yep. Okay.
Thank you very much, Scott. We appreciate it.
We knew he'd know.
What would we do if you weren't here? It'd be terrible.
We have to look stuff up. You can't really see it in the photo, but you can see down along the edges of the track guards, he put a little bit of rust. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of like warm color down there.
It's bringing it back. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep. That's a great addition. Just gives so much more depth.
Yeah.
Looks awesome.
You have to. Like, that's the only downside to Iron Warriors. Like, their color scheme is so flat if you don't add stuff to it. It's like, you can make the armor look super realistic and have it just be really nice silver, but then it's like, even with the stripes, it's just such a flat paint scheme. Like, you have to weather it. You have to do stuff to it.
Yep. Agreed. And we just got a glimpse of it earlier. This is Mike Hughes. He's finished off phenomenal. His Horus Ascended, which looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. He did such a great job with the source lighting coloring underneath, like inside his like greaves and his plates and stuff.
Yep, absolutely awesome. I love that base with all the
rib cages.
Just the scorched bones. It just looks fantastic. It's an awesome job. And also from Mike, this is a top-down shot of his of the cloak at the back of Horus there, which just looks magnificent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah.
So this was the last week?
No, I think Mike's been working on it for a little bit, not too long, but
okay.
I mean, he has done it.
He built it 2 weeks ago, and then he painted it last week.
But yeah, beautiful job. I love the fur as well. There's such great variety, that sort of variance in that pelt through there.
I always got a kick out of the fact that like the ammo feeds for the bolters on the back of Horus's claw are just like straps. They're just like belts of ammo. And I'm like, that seems wildly inefficient. Like he's like, oh, I got it caught on something. Like,
what?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where they're going to last the first like 10 seconds.
Seriously, he's like,
like,
let me
He's just going to go, okay.
out of ammo, and I didn't bring any additional.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, how do you reload that? You
Yeah,
have to have like a guy reloading him on the
No,
side.
I assume the horse like holds his mace under his arm, and then like pulls some out of one of his belt pouches and like feeds them into the top. Like I'm sure it's really efficient as he does it.
Look at us talking about realism in 40K.
That's why he turned to chaos. He like the chaos gods. Like he's like, oh, chaos gods, and they
30K.
reload it.
Yep.
For one command point, you can reload Horus's weapon.
Nice. Excellent. And speaking of Marvel United, and Scott, here is his lineup.
Oh, is this the starter set?
Yep.
Or the core box, I should say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking awesome there. So you've got Ant-Man, the Wasp, you got Red Skull,
Black Widow, Iron Man,
America,
Captain Marvel, Taskmaster, Ultron, Hulk. I love that Ant-Man is on a quarter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely cool. But
That's so good.
yeah, beautiful work there, Scott.
Oh, Wasp is on a die. Look at that.
That's pretty great. I didn't even notice that before. That's awesome. I thought it was a gas can at first, like a red gas can. I really like the light effect he got on Captain America and Captain Marvel's like cowls, like the fade he's got going on is great.
Right. Yep. Looking awesome.
Yeah, those are awesome.
So just quickly, just says, hooray for Hazard Stripes. Indeed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Indeed. It's I'm not sure if we showed this last week. I don't think we showed all the models in this last week, but
we just got all the expansions in for this game.
no.
Oh, this is Malifaux. I meant for Marvel United.
So yeah, this is
some Bayou.
Scott's Bayou Gremlins. Looking super cool.
Yeah, they look great.
But I think Scott said that he got in a game of Marvel United with his wife over the weekend. So
Yep.
that's his entry.
Yeah, they had to fight Namor.
Yep. But yeah, definitely looking wonderful there, Scott. Lovely work. Next up, we have Sean Gleason, who has almost, he said he's really close to finishing his Lumineth Realm Lord Bolt Thrower. What's it called again?
I don't remember what it's a bolt thrower. I
It's
don't
a
remember
bolt
what
thrower,
theirs
yeah.
is.
But yeah, looking great there. Sean, I love that the guy holding the big the quiver of bolts for it.
Yeah, they're like javelins.
Yep. But yeah, looking very cool.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
The Star Shard Ballista, I think. So yeah, thanks very much, Sean. That one.
It's a bolt thrower.
Looks great. Very nice. Nicely done. And then the final entry is from Stephen Lee, Kato, who has... first week he showed us the Bushido models that he'd assembled. Last week we saw the Bushido models painted, and this is them in action at games and stuff in a Bushido tournament.
Nice.
I think
super fun game.
Fantastic.
What's that?
Super fun game.
What was that, Owen?
Oh, it's fantastic. That's great. Like he did the build, play. He did the challenge.
He achieved it all. Definitely cool. I have no idea how his games went on Saturday, but I think I had 16 people playing in the Bushido tournament, which is super cool.
That's great.
They started. I popped into the store, grabbed my Votan army, found out they didn't have the Iron Earth. Went off to the Kill Team event, then went off to my game with Ryan, then went back to the store so I could put the Votan army back in the case, and they were just wrapping up the tournament. Then I felt like I'd done a lot that day, But Josh is asking, is that freehand? Sorry, Josh, I don't know which one you're talking about. What's it going to be? Which one else? We might be able to go back to it. Freehand on. Trying to see if I can find any. Oh, there. I'm really not sure. However, we have we're at 8:41, so we're a little bit over. But it always gets that way when we start to jump in and talk about.
Sorry, rule sets. And,
it could have very easily been 9:41 had we let you go. But cool. So I think we are essentially now at the end of another episode.
Right.
If people feel they haven't got enough information just yet about Nova Open for 2023, where should they go?
They can go to novaopen.com.
NovaOpen.com.
It's probably the easiest thing to remember. I will also drop in the chat here a direct link to our event page.
Cool.
In tabletop events.
Excellent. And on novaopen.com, you can also sign up for the newsletter. You can find links to Nova Open socials. So whichever social you happen to enjoy, you can find a link there. And you have to learn more about it and hopefully join us this August/September.
Indeed. Hope to see you all there.
Which would be super cool. But yeah, thanks very much, Owen, for joining us. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Anything we missed? Might have forgotten.
No, just thank you all for having me on. This has been awesome. Jake, it's great to meet you, and I look forward to hanging out with you guys soon. So
thanks, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was awesome getting to talk to you, and I think anytime we can put a spotlight on like something cool to do and like a great show with some awesome charities getting supported. By the way, like I think it literally is the easiest thing for David and I to do to have people on to talk about it. So
yeah,
awesome.
I love it. Awesome.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to the live stream. Those who've been bringing the questions and interacting. That's fantastic. So it's probably a regular crowd, but like any content creator loves when people like are there and showing up. So thank you.
Definitely cool. we appreciate them all.
For sure.
Except maybe for that Josh guy. Just kidding. We appreciate you most, Josh. No. All the same.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Next week we'll be presenting the winner of the inaugural Build Paint Play Challenge. Jake and I will be talking about that.
We'll talk this week about what else we will talk about. We'll do that, but then we'll also we'll have a new topic to go over.
Yep. I thought didn't you have one? I thought we had one.
You thought I had one?
Yeah.
Oh, the painting classes?
No.
Then I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I'm just going insane. My apologies. Enjoy the ride.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And as always, let's see if we can get this right. Don't forget to build,
paint,
play.
Yeah. That was a different approach. See you all next week. Bye.
Shut up and sit down.